Dog training just isn't what you think it is. When I meet new people and the subject of dog training comes up, they seem to have one of three distinct types of trainers in mind. None of them are the type of trainer that I am. Let me give you an idea of what these types I hear are like. First is the old school dog trainers. These are the leash yanking, harsh shouting, and perfect obedience expectations trainers. There's not much verbal praise, if any at all. There's no food rewards as they think it's bribery. There's no focus on understanding what the dogs are communicating to them. Dominance theory dog trainers. This is the I am the dog's pack leader people. They act on the idea that unwanted behavior by their dog is a challenge to their authority as the pack leader. Their techniques include many force based, aversive actions like pinning their dog to the ground, intense eye contact, pulling on choke chains, and pinch collars. Then there's the dog sports, working dog kind of trainer folks. They really have very strict focus on impulse control, especially in very distracting situations. They incorporate a lot of strict daily routines and very defined boundaries. I am a force free trainer. My focus is on helping people understand how their dogs learn and how to teach their dogs in a way that works for them. I listen to people and I ask a lot of questions. What I'm looking to do is to find out what their needs are, what their dog's needs are, and then try and come up with a plan that will work for all of them. It's a very successful, it is a very straightforward way of approaching dog training. Not every person that I work with needs or wants to teach their dog how to do a perfect heel. That may intentionally not be what they want when they're out walking with their dogs. So, really sitting and talking and listening and observing the dogs is really what helps me figure out what they need, what they don't want, and gets me most of the way to figuring out how I'm going to teach them how to teach their dog those things that they want. My approach uses positive reinforcement techniques. What we really are using, what positive reinforcement is all about, is that we're using something that they like to indicate to our dog that they have done something that we want them to keep doing. And that's really it in a nutshell. There's of course more layers to it, but that's it in a nutshell. And by being able to do that, we can also kind of pull them away from doing things that we don't want them to do. And the motivation isn't just food. In all actuality, I really typically only use food in the very beginning of teaching a skill, to really help kind of almost guide the dog into the movement that I'm teaching them, so I can capture it and then give them lots of verbal rewards and tactile rewards, lots of pets and scritches and love and just lots of really high intensity, um, verbal and tactile rewards. Those are really the core of what I'm teaching folks and what people will use on an ongoing basis. Reason being, you won't always have a food treat handy, but you always have your hands and your voice with you to be able to reward your dog. And consistency in how you teach them and how you reward them, how you reinforce the positive behaviors is absolutely the key to how long it's going to take to teach a new behavior, how much frustration you and your dog are going to experience in the process, and how well that dog is going to learn it in a very solid way. I want to make it very clear, I don't use e-collars, choke chains, prong collars, or slip leads because pain does not motivate like positive reinforcement does. And let's be clear, despite some of these tools being very, very low levels of pain, almost to the point of where we could call it discomfort, and many do, it's still pain. It's still a negative, unpleasant physical sensation for the dog to use any of these tools. And pain just does not motivate like positive reinforcement does. And one of the big reasons that I early on turned away from the idea of any of these is that when you have a dog that is reactive, or you have a dog that tends to be kind of more anxious than average, um, using those kind of tools brings in a huge amount of fear, a huge amount of anxiety about whether it's going to happen again. And it really pollutes not only your training, but it can really mess up your relationship with your dog. And that is a huge factor. So none of those for me. If there weren't any other tools to use, it might be a different thing. But thankfully, positive reinforcement is an incredibly effective approach to training. The other side to what I do, in addition to using positive reinforcement and really talking to, more importantly, listening to the people that I work with and observing the dogs very carefully, is that I really focus on teaching techniques and strategies that will fit into the people and the dogs' everyday lives. Training should not be something that you have to plan a time to stop doing everything you're doing and go do it, other than, say, a class, or if you're having, of course, going to work with a trainer outside your home. You're training, what you're doing when you're training your dog really is you're teaching them how to behave in the dog and human world, right? They have a lot of instincts and they can make a lot of really great guesses for just the dog world, but they don't know how the human world works. We teach them. So when we're training them, we're teaching them how to successfully behave and be happy in the dog and human world. Well, we should do it in their primary. We should especially start all of our training, all of our teaching, each different skill. We need to start that in the dog's home base, meaning your home base. And there's a lot of reasons for it. And we'll get into that a little more in future videos. But ultimately, it comes down to, if we focus on teaching in their everyday lives and then move on as they begin to master the skill, we move that on to different places in the world, in their world, out and about, and in our world that we want to take them, we're going to have much more success. The dog is going to learn in a much more clear, less confused way, and the whole process overall is going to be better, shorter, and more effective. So if you think about how I describe my approach, and you go back to those three kind of mental pictures of trainers that people tend to have, you can see that mine is really very different. And I didn't invent all of this. I went to a good school and I've read a lot. I am constantly reading and keeping up on new research and new findings in the area of dog behavior and dog learning. so that I could learn how to teach people to teach their dogs in a way that works, in a way that's kind, in a way that deepens their bond with their dog, in a way that increases their communication with their dog, and vice versa. And also really adheres to their like beliefs to mine, that all of this can and should be done in a kind, non aversive, non harmful way. I got into training because I love dogs, not because I want to boss them around or bully them. And and that's really at the core also, is love and not doing or encouraging, or as much as I can allowing people to use techniques that are harmful physically or emotionally or mentally for their dogs. If you've gotten this far, thanks so much for watching the video. I really would appreciate it if you can click like, and even more so, it'd be really amazing if you could drop a note in the comments about how you like the video. And even more so, I'd really, really love to hear your suggestions for improvements, and especially for things you'd like me to talk about and cover in future videos that you would find helpful. Again, thanks so much. Give your dog a little lovey scritchy from me, and I'll see you soon.